I've spent 7 years building inside of Notion, from coaching businesses to property companies to creators and everything in between. But here's the truth. Most people use Notion and build this workspace that looks good, but does absolutely nothing for you. So today I'm going to show you some of the most powerful ways to use Notion and the exact systems I use to turn chaos to clarity. If you're also wanting to test your business on its scalability through its systems, I've got a scorecard that takes less than 5 minutes to do, and it will give you a result how your company's set. The link will be the first in the bio. Just to be upfront with you, everything I'm covering today isn't going to be a basic guide to Notion. It's most likely going to relate to those that are a little bit more of the advanced side of Notion and know a little bit more than others. So if you want to actually learn the basics, I'll create videos in the future on how to do so. But yeah, just wanted to let you know. The first one I'm going to take you through is actually more of a newer feature in Notion, and it's actually using journal entries to turn your daily life into your content. Now, a lot of you will know that storytelling content is becoming more prominent than ever. And with the rise of AI, there's more people creating content than ever before. It does take a little bit more to actually stand out, but it also means that if you're able to create storytelling through the content that you're creating in your day-to-day life, then it's such a powerful way to do it. And also, this gives you such an easy in to actually create content, because more often than not, we don't think about our day-to-day life as much as we should. And our day-to-day life has golden nuggets in it that can be turned into content. So what I've created inside of Notion is I've created journal entries. Now, essentially what's going to happen is every single day, I've got a template that just repeats. And at the end of each day, I will essentially voice note the journal, which is the new meeting transcript that they've started to use inside of Notion, and just rhyme off whatever's happened. So if I confirm and consent, then I can start talking, and you'll be able to see it actually playing on here. You'll see that there's the bars coming up on the transcription itself. You can ask AI to help you with certain things as well as you're going through this meeting. Now, this is predominantly meant to be used for meetings in particular, but I've found this is absolutely incredible for figuring out your day and using it as a daily journal. Now, the way that I'm using it is exactly how I am showing you it right here. I have 4 particular questions of what did I build, fix, or learn today, and why does it matter? Where did I get stuck or frustrated, and how could I solve it? What did I notice about myself, my business, or my clients today? And if I were to turn it into a 30-second story for content, what would the hook be? And what I've actually done underneath here is then I've created an AI block. Now, what I've found with the AI blocks is that they cannot search inside of database pages. So what I've done instead is I've actually used inside of the template my own ICP. I've also used some of my current hooks and my current goals and vision for myself. And it essentially means that when I use this AI block and I finish this transcript, I am then going to put it as a professional copywriter in the social media marketing. It's going to use my ICP, my current hooks, and my current goals as guidelines, and then to follow along with some of the areas that I could be using. So if I stop this transcript, for example, and we allow it to think and we allow it to get all of its information, it's going to just bring up what I've been talking about inside of this video. But this is then going to give me the ability to start turning this into content. And this can be done for so many different ways. You could be doing this for your content. You could be doing this for your own business. You could have all your employees doing this, so you're able to keep up with how they've been getting on every day, what things they've been able to complete and not complete. So if I then use generate in here using this AI block, it's going to use this summary and the transcript from what it's took with the content creation side of things. And it's then going to start turning it into areas of improvement for my own business. And then you'll also see some content ideas that it's doing. And because it's using some scroll, stop, and hooks, it's then going to give me some ones that I've kind of filled it in with ones that I've already used. So it's not going to be something that you will use AI to essentially do everything for you. But what this has done for me already has allowed me to turn my normal day-to-day into storytelling that's actually building on a lot more of what I'm doing and bringing more people into the story. And it's one of the most powerful things that Notion's released. The meeting transcript itself, just for general meetings, has already been incredible, but this just takes it to a whole other level. What you can also do with this, and something else I've added, is you can have in your mood for what you're doing, but you've also got the key event of the day where you can use the transcript of what you've talked about, and it tells you about the key event that happened that day, and also topics themselves. So the topics that have been covered inside of that day and sort of what you've covered, and they will actually update themselves. So they will add based on what you've actually talked about inside of those things. And it's really, really cool. I've loved using it so far, and it's been really helpful. And not only that, over time, it's going to build into its own knowledge base within the AI sphere, and it's going to help that learn far more about you and who you are and how you work. So the second one I'm going to show you is about using Notion on your phone. Now, some of you may have tried to use Notion on your phone, and when you have a layout on your desktop and a layout on your phone in the same way, they don't look that great. So if I show you here this Notion training facility, what I'll do is I'll pull up on the screen what this looks like on my phone, just as a general picture. And you can see that it's not actually that great at all. It's very, very clunky. There's things everywhere. But a lot of you might use your phone in the day-to-day and want to actually use this as a benefit. So I'm going to show you how you lay it out inside of Notion to make it look far, far better on your phone, that you can use those particular pages when you're on your phone and leave the rest of the work to look all fancy when it's on your PC. What I've done is I've essentially created a page inside of my desktop. I've not made it full width, and I've just added certain buttons. So in my task list, I have the next three, which is the next three priority, and then a new task. So I've just added 2 buttons to the top. And then I've also created a linked view of my tasks database and showed just particular areas. So what I've done here is I've grouped it by the complete by, I've sorted it with the complete and then priority. And then I've also filtered it so that the complete has been unchecked. And I've also only shown really the priority, the complete, and the task itself. I've not shown what clients I'm working with, and you can show whatever else you would want. So if you want to have the client work, if you want to, and then you can also have the date that you need to complete this by. So this is such a good way, and you'll see on the screen right now how it looks on your phone. This is so much more simpler than having everything, scrolling everything for it. So if you are wanting to actually create this, then you want to create this page in itself, the buttons right at the top that you need for it, and then a list view of the work that you're doing, and group them in however way that you would want, and you'll be able to see the most important that's actually coming to you. At the end of the day, I don't use Notion on my phone that much, but if I'm out and about, then maybe I can. It's why it's something to actually think about if you do use it on your phone a little bit more, to structure some of your pages to be phone friendly. And it means that when you go back onto your PC, you can use the main dashboards that you've already built and they still function the exact same way. Next up, I want to talk about the video editing side of things inside of Notion. Now, I plan all of my content inside of Notion for LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, all of that sort of stuff. And I know a lot of you probably want to do the same. So I have a really, really simple system. It's nothing crazy, but it is really, really powerful to actually use. So I essentially have new content, and inside of that default, I have a breakdown of the schedule for it, what stage I'm at, what platform it's going to be going into, and then I upload the content that I've done so that I can go back to it when repurposing. But you will also see here, one of the major problems that I have when it comes to Notion itself, or when it comes to any platform that you're using for planning and scheduling your content, is, let's say I've published a piece of content on LinkedIn and I want to repurpose that in a different way on Instagram, or vice versa, however way that you'd want to do it. One of my issues is that you can't really change the stage back to what you're wanting to do before, because at the end of the day, you've published it on LinkedIn. So if I have the platform as LinkedIn and then I want to post this, then again, I can't really do that because it's already been ready to post and it's already been published on one platform. I can't just take it back and then add another platform, because then that's going to change when I actually scheduled that. So a way that I have got around this is essentially I've created an added platform button. So if I create a new piece of content here and I just say new content, and then I add the platform. So if we have May the 28th, we add this to Instagram, I would upload all of the content and I would write some of the content here. I'm just going to upload a file here so that you'll be able to see what it looks like. It's just a picture of myself. Look how great I look. That's fantastic. But if I add a new platform here, it means that this content will then be replaced again. There'll be an added content that actually comes into this. That allows me to then come into here and actually click on this other content. And that means that I'm then going to be able to choose, okay, what's actually happening with this one? Because this one could be for LinkedIn. I can see the content that I previously used for that post. And then I'm also going to be able to go into this page to see sort of what I wrote within the script so that I can then either change it or look at another direction that I want to take with that content, because different platforms have different needs for what you're wanting to do. So if we now look at this week's content, you'll see the 2 new pieces of content here, and we have them for different platforms. And we can also see that we've got some of the previous content using that just to my advantage. Now, a few other cool things that I've added into here, just in case you want to be able to do it, is I've added a really simple formula that basically has, after 60 days, it's going to tell me that I can repurpose this content if I would like. And if not, it's just going to tell me to keep creating. So it's a nice wee just sign to show, okay, here's some of the areas that you could potentially repurpose. Is this an area you want to? And then you can start to build onto it there. And what I was talking about earlier with the journaling and the sort of transcript for the content ideas, this is where this can go directly into as well. You could set up some automations easily to start writing the starting points of your content, and it'll make it really, really powerful. Next up, we're going to look at the design of your Notion itself. And it's really, really important, and people often don't think about this that much, but your design of your layout is super, super important for what you're doing. The way that I like to do it is split it into a few sections. So the top section here is for outside links that I use on a regular basis. So in mine, I have things like Outlook, High Level, Kit.co, that sort of stuff. Things that I want to get to in the click of a button that are outside of Notion. You can have whatever you want in here, but you'll see up the top, you can have things like Google Drive, Gmail, LinkedIn, all of that sort of stuff. And below that, what I like to then have is buttons that allow me to do things that I really want at a quick glance. So this is just my Notion training facility for some clients, but this is a really good place to actually just see, okay, well, what can we click and what can we allow it to do? Because you'll open this up and you'll see that this button will add tasks as the template that I've created, completed by today's date, and then by who the person that's actually clicked that button. So that allows us to have this layout really, really smooth. And then what I also do is I create what is known as a synced block. Now, for those of you that might have never used a synced block before, I like to use this as a menu. And it essentially means that if I click into the Notion training, you will now see that this page will actually be the exact same as the block that it was on the home. And this is because you've synced it across multiple different pages. And it means that if you're wanting to go anywhere, you just need to click a button and then you're there to that place. Rather than choosing 3-4 different steps in order to get somewhere, you're trying to minimize the amount of clicks that you need to do it. It's sort of what you want to have inside of your system, but I also understand that some people really like the simplicity side of things because it can get really overwhelming, especially when you're learning the system for the first time. If that is you and you're someone that struggles quite a lot having that amount of information on it, what I would recommend doing is using something like the columns and actually creating headings for them. So this could be marketing, this could be sales, and this could be systems. And then underneath here, actually just putting pages in with some of them to be able to then build it out from there. And that's going to allow you to create a sort of easy layout for your full business for what you're wanting to do. Now you can go both routes, both work well. It really depends on what works best for you. You want your structure to work for you. And the way that I usually say to clients is in your page, whatever one you use the most, whatever's going to be your page, you should be able to be on that and not have to go anywhere else and be able to do everything you need to do from that single page. Yes, there's going to be times that we want to dive a little deeper, and that's why we have things like the call area. But if I have this month's calls, this week's calls, and active clients inside of this space, I don't really need to go anywhere else for it. And that's why your design and the structure and how you design it is so important. Next, I'm going to show you a little bit more about filters and sorts that can work really well for you. These are ones that I don't see used as often, but are quite powerful for you and your team for however you're building your Notion system and however you're actually using it. The first one that you need to pay attention to is the me filter. Now, if we come to who completed this training, you'll see there's a ton of people obviously on here that I've added to my Notion before, but at the very top of my filter, there's a me filter. And what this essentially means is if I'm on this page, all the ones with Andrew Ellis is going to be here, but if, let's say, Jack was on this page, all of Jack's ones would be shown on this page, not mine. And this is a really, really cool way of actually having a page that shows one particular way of looking at a database and it doesn't show the person something that's irrelevant to them. Without having to filter it by individual person for each individual page, you could have one page that shows projects and tasks and select the me filter for that particular view, and it will just show them the tasks that they need to do as long as that logged in email is the one that's been tagged inside of that. It's such a good filter that people do not use enough for what they're actually looking to do. Another few of the filters that I always like and I always think are really, really important, things like this month's calls and this week's calls. Obviously, if you have it in a calendar view, it's really, really easy to see. But if we have this in a table view, for example, you might want to filter these by the week of the call. So if you do date of the call and then you select that the start date is relative to today, and then you go for this week or this month or however you'd like to do it, it's a really, really good way of just getting the filters there and ready to go. Now, some of the other ones that I would highly recommend is looking at things like the sorts in the groups, because inside of the groups, what we can have is we can have particular clients that the calls are separated by. So you'll see that these are separated by the client call themselves. And then you can start to filter them a little bit more with what you're wanting to do. So the call topic itself could be related to the onboarding. You'll see those other ones disappear. What you want to create with these filters themselves is you want to create a system that what you're seeing is what you actually need to see. Not all of the things that have happened 6 and 7 months ago, because yes, they might come in handy, but you don't need them right here and then. This is just something I see people not utilizing as much as they should. And it's such a good tool for how Notion actually works. This next sort of tip is going to be for those of you that want to use Notion with your clients, and it's something to pay attention to that's really, really important. Notion currently doesn't have what is known as granular sharing. Now, granular sharing really means that if you have a database that you want to share with your clients and you don't want a particular client to see another client's data that's in there, then you can actually share a portion of that database with one individual without sharing the full database with them. Now, there's little hacks and little things out there in order to hide particular parts of databases, but just know if you're wanting your clients to have access to a particular portion of a database, Notion currently can't do that. You can do it on third-party platforms if you use something like Softer, but most platforms out there do struggle with the granular sharing side of things. You usually have to create either separate areas or separate interfaces to be able to allow them to see it. It's something that I know Notion are working on, but it is an important thing to realize if you're potentially wanting to build something on Notion. If you're wanting a solution of a way around it, or what I recommend to clients is that if they genuinely want to build something that's a one-to-one, then you create a template that will have specific databases for that particular client, or you have it more as a sort of view only, and that allows them to see what's going on that's filtered towards them, but it doesn't allow them to actually look at the full database. It is a little bit annoying if you're wanting to get them involved and you want to keep everything sort of in that one space, but it is something that hopefully we'll see in the next few years Notion bring in. The final thing I'm going to cover today is automations and repeat cycles. Again, kind of like I mentioned earlier on, in the journal entries, what I've done within the template is I've got this to repeat, and you can set this to repeat to every day, week, month, year, all of that sort of stuff. It gives you the ability to set templates to actually repeat themselves, especially if you do something on a regular basis within your Notion. So you're going to want to set some of these up so that it actually does that for you. And the second thing to cover is using the automations for them. There are tons of automations that you can do inside of Notion that are going to make your life and your business run so much smoother. So you can even set variables and stuff now where when certain variables happen, so it could be when a page is added, you can send webhooks, define certain variables, send a Gmail, even send Slack notifications if you use that for particular things. And these are really, really powerful for what you're wanting to do. You're building out your stack of all of the processes that you follow. And as you're adding more people onto the system, you're not going to be wanting to do things manually. You're going to be wanting certain triggers to occur when things happen. So one I really like to use is things like when you sign a new client. So if you add a page here where a new client has been added, then you could potentially add templates for tasks that you need to do for onboarding, for an onboarding call that you need to get booked in, all of that sort of stuff. forms to be sent, emails to be sent. There's tons of things that you can do. And now with the introduction of webhooks into Notion, this becomes even more powerful with what you're wanting. Again, I'll create future videos on certain webhooks that you can use and how powerful these can be. But it's something that, again, I don't see utilized that often. And it's something that you should really start to learn more about and how you can use this to your advantage. With all the advancements that AI are making now, this is going to be more important than ever before. So I'd highly recommend taking some time to actually dive into the automations and figure out a little bit more. And again, as I said, if you're wanting to see if your business is ready to scale with your current systems, fill in the system scorecard. It's the first link in the bio. It will give you advice and everything you need to actually move your company forward with your systems. These are just some of the areas that Notion's extremely powerful for. And if you're wanting to learn more about how to scale your company through your systems, just watch this video on the screen and you'll be moving forward today.